Hello, beautiful people. This is Eric Kearney, president of the Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce. And we have a great show today, an absolutely home run show. We have the great folks from Republic Bank. We have Pedro Bryant, the executive vice president of not of Pedro Bank, but of Republic Bank. Good morning, Pedro. How are you?
I'm doing great, Eric. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing great. And we have Kenneth Webb. Everybody knows Kenneth Webb. He is VP and Regional CRA, Community Development Officer for Republic Bank. Good morning, Kenneth. How are you?
Good morning, Eric. Good to see you.
Good to see you both. Now, tell us a little bit about Republic Bank. Maybe, Pedro, do you want to start off and tell us a little bit about Republic?
We'll have Kenneth do the introduction of the bank, and then I'll fill in the rest of it.
Oh, okay.
Well, good morning again, Eric, and those that are joining us. Republic Bank is a bank based out of Louisville, Kentucky. We have branches all over the state of Kentucky, primarily in Lexington and Louisville and other parts, as well as Nashville, Tampa, and Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. We have five branches in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, 3 in Northern Kentucky and 2 in Cincinnati, 1 in Norwood, the one that I sat at, and then another one in Westchester.
Great. So how did you get started in banking and at Republic?
Is this for me or is this for Pedro?
Well, it's for you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is funny because I started out, my goal was to be a gerontologist. I to go to med school and be a gerontologist, and then I took the MCAT a few times, and I said, okay, I got to make some choices because I can't wait to be on somebody else's waiting list to get into med school somewhere. So I got to make some money now. So I grew up in the most illustrious background, so we were poor, and so they told me on Monday morning, if you come with this particular bank, you can make this money Monday morning. And I was like, this kind of money, Monday morning? And Monday morning was 25 years later. So I've been in banking for 25 years. And I started out by getting an opportunity to make some money. And then I've been everything from in the retail field to securities and investments, stocks and bonds, annuities, to doing what I do and what I love to do now, which is CRA and community development. So it's been an interesting journey, but I love it.
That's beautiful. Pedro, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background and how you got into banking?
Sure. I've been a banker for 37 years. At the age of 16, I decided I wanted to be a banker. I grew up in Southeast Georgia, and like in many communities, there were no men of color working in any financial institutions in my hometown. And during career day, 11th grade, I decided that I was going to be a banker.
Oh.
And so in college, I decided I'd major in business. I started working for a bank in my hometown in few years ago. I spent my first year and a half in data processing. The bank got a new CEO a couple of years later, and he sat me down after observing me for about 6 months. And I was 23 years old. And he told me that he was going to make me a bank president by the time I was 37.
Whoa.
And so I took all these banking courses. I went to the Graduate School of Banking at the University of Delaware. It's now at the Wharton School of Business. And I came back and got an MBA. And from that moment, my career just sort of took off. I've, like I said earlier, worked in data processing. I was a consumer lender, commercial lender, managed an investment portfolio. I was controller. And when he retired, I left to go work for another bank. But at age 37 and 2 months, I became president of a bank in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was owned by Barry Sanders and John Starks. After about 4 years, my wife and I answered the call for a small bank in Louisville that was looking for a bank president. So we've been here 18 years. We sold that bank in April of last year. And Steve Traeger, who's the CEO of Republic, I've known him since I came to Louisville. I played golf with him on a number of occasions. Steve and I sat down and had a conversation, and a week later, I accepted an offer to come to Republic Bank as an executive vice president and managing director of community lending. One of the first charges that I was given was to create this community loan fund that would focus on communities that had been adversely impacted by circumstances, the economy, you name it, or individuals operating businesses in distressed communities. Particularly, these are mostly minority communities. And so we wanted to start out with something modest that we knew we could reach. And we said if we could hit our goal after a year, then we could expand the loan fund. And we wanted to make it affordable, and we wanted to make it a very simple process. And so the loan fund is $3 million. The maximum amount is $50,000 per borrower. The interest rate is 3% fixed, whether your credit score is 601 or 801. And so we really struggled with how we put this thing together, and we decided that we would make it affordable for everyone with low interest rates, flexible qualifications. Kenneth is often asked this question, and I'm asked this question all the time. Well, what do I need to apply? Well, the only thing we were going to ask you is to complete a one-page application and provide for us tax returns personal for the last 2 years. And if you've been in business for 2 years or more, business tax returns for 2 years. In each of our markets, we have a contact in the Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area. It's Kenneth Webb. I'm just a person who's serving as the facilitator or quarterback of this effort. But the real stars are folks like Kenneth Webb and the others in our other markets of Tampa, Nashville, Lexington, Central Kentucky. And so once the application is received, it's reviewed, submitted, and when the processing is all complete, it comes across my desk for a final decision.
Are there certain industries that you are targeting or are prohibited?
When we first started this, during COVID, my initial thought, and if you'll let me borrow your imagination for a second, in the spring of 2020, a lot of us were working from home. And so you had light switches with kids going up and down. Kids were flushing the toilet. HVACs and units were on all day long. So initially we thought it would be doctors, electricians, plumbers, and HVAC folks. We found that in going to Home Depot and Lowe's, that these stores were out of supplies and people were doing all kinds of projects. So we said, maybe contractors as well. But our first 3 or 4 loans applications that we took were from healthcare professionals. And when you think about it, they were onto something that even as bankers, we didn't see, but it's all around us. And that is too often in our communities, there are huge health disparities. And so these healthcare professionals wanted to open up mobile medical practices, mobile dental clinics, and a nurse practitioner wanted to do the same thing, going into our community, making certain that senior citizens were getting checkups, they were getting their vaccinations. And so our first 3 or 4 loans were to individuals in the healthcare sector. And then we started making loans to contractors. And so it's been very diverse. What I try to encourage folks to do, and I've told Kenneth this as well, in our culture, in our tradition, we all sort of grew up, especially if you're over the age of 45, we all grew up going to church every Sunday. And every church that has green grass has someone who cuts the grass. All of us know someone who has a lawn care business. All of us know a plumber or an electrician. And with the past 12 months and all of the work that these folks have been doing, we're making loans to buy trucks, we're making loans to buy equipment, we're making loans to restaurants. And so it's a variety of opportunities. If someone is looking for more than $50,000, we have a portfolio of products that we can easily fit this into. We had a healthcare professional in the Nashville market that was looking to expand business. and $50,000 was not going to cut it. So we were able to put this person into an SBA loan. And with all loan products right now, rates are all-time lows. So it's a great time for someone who's looking to borrow. One of the questions that we've had to respond to and address, we've had a number of applicants to call and inquire about, well, I don't know if I want to get this. I'm leaning more towards the PPP loan. The loan has a different focus than the PPP loan. The PPP program is mainly an effort to sustain a business that's focused more along with maintaining staff or personnel, covering mortgage interest or rents, utilities, those types of things that will sustain an organization or sustain a company for a number of months. Whereas the community loan fund is geared towards helping someone establish, grow, or expand a business.
So now, how long do you have to be in business to apply for the community loan fund?
I'm going to use an example of a barber. Let's say someone out there is a barber and they're wanting to grow or start a business. If they filed taxes 2 years in a row, we need those personal tax returns. If they have been in business 2 years, we're going to want 2020 and 2019 tax returns. Now, let's assume that you haven't been in business for 2 years, maybe 1 year, or you've been in business 6 months. In that case, we would want to see a business plan. It doesn't have to be anything long. It can be a 3 to 6 page summary of who you are, what you're doing, and then some forecasts. And it really needs to be realistic because, banks have been around for a very long time. I've been in the industry 37 years, and making certain that it covers all of the high points. And so if someone's starting out relatively new, we just want them to be able to convey what their plans, what their expectations are to us in writing, so that as we go to make the decision, they may only have 6 months of business experience or a year's worth of business experience. If they can convey that they have a pretty good grasp of what they're doing and what they're wanting to do, we're all about helping this young entrepreneur start his or her business.
So if someone wants to find out more about this or get a copy of the one-page application, which is really remarkable when you think about it, Kenneth, should they see you?
Yes, thanks, Eric, for having us on this broadcast. This is one of those kind of funds that is definitely beneficial. So often people of color have been locked out, and this is an opportunity to help people to understand that there are resources out there to help them, especially during this pandemic. And so they would reach out to me. The number is on the flyer, the 513-685-1734 number, or email me at kwebb@republicbank.com. And that information is on the flyer that's in front of you. And so I think those are two ways to get in contact with me, and then also get access to the one-page application.
Can they come by the branch as well? I know you have one on the Ohio side in Norwood and in Westchester, I believe, and then you have a few branches in the Northern Kentucky area. Is it better to do that or just use the phone?
They can come by, set up an appointment and come by. I have a guy coming by this afternoon who's making his copies of his tax information because he said it was too large to send via email. So he's coming this afternoon, and they can do that as well. Set up an appointment and we can work something out that way.
We can also, Kenneth, or I can, if someone's interested, we can email them the application. The application is a fillable PDF. And so the information that they would want to have when they're doing the application, obviously would be the tax ID number of the business. It would be helpful to have financial information through 12/31/2020, because that type of information is going to be asked on the application. I think those are probably the most important documents to have, just financial summary through the end of the year, since we're so close or just removed from 12/31/2020, having financials for the end of the year available, because there are going to be a couple of questions related to that. On the personal financial summary, it would be helpful to, when you sit down to do the application, to have available to you your outstanding personal obligations, as well as on the flip side of the page, on the reverse side of, not the reverse side, but on the left side of the page, listing of assets, because we're going to ask for assets for both, in the bottom section, we're going to ask for assets and liabilities of the owner of the business, and at the top portion, it's more focused on the business. And so the fillable application can be emailed, just complete it, print it, sign it, scan it, send it back to Kenneth. Or if someone is going online to republicbank.com, they can go to our website under commercial lending, and there is a link to do the application. It would be, it's a DocuSign document. Once it's signed, it would come to me. And if the application is from the Northern Kentucky area or Ohio, I would send that application to Kenneth, and then Kenneth would make contact with the business owner.
Okay, now let's talk about those pesky things called underwriters, right? And they analyze loans, and we want to know or give people a sense of what's the bar. Are these loan applications scrutinized very closely? How likely is it that once they complete the application, you will return a yes? And and then is it a negotiation process where, let's say somebody applies and they say, I would like a loan of 30,000. Can Republic Bank come back and say, well, we're willing to lend you 25,000, not the whole 30,000? How does that process work? If you
Okay.
can share that.
Well, what I am hoping that 90% of the applicants who submit an application will complete the application, send it to Kenneth, provide the tax returns, personal and business. It goes through underwriting, and when we look at it, we immediately say yes. However, we do recognize that sometimes we have blemishes in our credit, and everything's going to be looked at on an individual basis. And if someone has a blemish, a late payment, or something that can be explained away, we will ask them about it, we'll document it. And history of someone's credit mainly tells a story. And that's a very important piece of the underwriting process. And so if someone has a challenge, I don't always just dismiss it out of hand because things can be explained away. And so in those cases, we try to work with the borrower. We've had 2 instances where we've turned someone down and given them an opportunity to come back a couple months later, and we've closed the loan for them. You, as a banker, when you have to tell someone you're not able to do a loan, you want to always have them walk away from that situation, knowing that there are 2 or 3 things that I can do, and perhaps I can come back in 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year. And that's sometimes that's what has to be done, but it's my hope that we'll be able to honor most requests the first time. And to your point, if someone does request, let's say, $35,000, and we come back with a counteroffer of $25,000, if the borrower is willing to accept the $25,000, then we can make that loan for them.
Okay. And then the availability of funds?
Loan fund can be used for a line of credit for business. And so lines of credit typically have a term of 12 months, and we can renew those. But at some point we would term it out, but we do make the line of credit available as well.
Okay. So that's something good to know. So this community loan fund, it's very exciting, I think. I mean, the ability to get a loan up to $50,000 or a line of credit, as you've just shared with us, and you only have to fill out one piece of paper and bring your personal and business financials. That seems relatively easy to me.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I've been in banking for 37 years, and I have never seen a one-page application with a one-page flyer that can be completed, submitted, and closed in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, that's perfect. That really is. So, do you have anything else that you would like to share with our members and supporters of the Greater Cincinnati African American Chamber of Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce?
You know, if someone has a question, I take phone calls all day long. And so if someone has a question, I'm open to receiving a phone call, and I'm sure Kenneth is as well. That's what we're here for. And I would love to help as many entrepreneurs grow or expand their business as much as possible. And all it takes is a phone call to answer questions or an email, and we get the application, and we'll get it moving. The one thing that I always tell borrowers, especially someone who's starting a business, is in life, all of us have ups and downs. And so if you have a rough patch, just think of it this way. If you wake up one morning and you're not feeling well, the first thing you do is pick up the phone and maybe call your healthcare provider to see if you can get an appointment. I think all of us should handle our banking relationships the same way. If you run into a financial problem, the first phone call should be to your banker and explain what's going on and see if they can provide some assistance. Because when we ignore problems and we ignore challenges, they don't go away, they only get larger.
Kenneth, is there anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, I like again, I say thank you for the opportunity for us to present about this community loan fund project and this community loan fund. One of the things I think is also essential when we think about Republic Bank, we are large enough and technically savvy enough to be what the big banks are, but we're also personal and intimate with our customers as it relates to helping them with their specific needs. Because so often people feel like they're numbers and they feel like they're being put into a queue and they'll never hear from people again. And so we at Republic, our tagline is it's just easier here, but we try to make that essential because we continually try to make banking easier for the customers that we have. And so we look forward to the response from this particular access to capital, but we also look forward to our relationship that we can continue to do in the African American community in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. So thanks again, Eric, for having us, and again for allowing us to present this particular program to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for appearing on Access to Capital with the Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce. Want to thank you, Republic Bank, for being a member of the chamber. We greatly appreciate that. We've been so fortunate to have Pedro Bryant with us, who is the Executive Vice President at Republic Bank, as well as Kenneth Webb, Vice President, Regional CRA Community Development Officer for Republic Bank. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been wonderful. And Kenneth, one more time, if you could remind people how they can get in contact with you so that they can complete the application, one-page application for the Community Loan Fund.
Sure, Eric. My number here is 513-685-1734, or you can email me at kwebb, W-E-B-B, @republicbank.com.
Okay,
For
great.
the calls and the emails.
That's right. Get going on it. $50,000 to up to $50,000. This is a great opportunity. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity this morning.